What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lockdown Defense Sports Network. I am your host for today's episode, Young RG Robert Garcia, as Coach likes to call me. And in today's episode of Lightning Lockdown, we are going to dive into the Chargers Week 5 matchup with the Washington Commanders. The Chargers, of course, coming off of a brutal loss to the New York Giants. So a couple of NFC East opponents in back-to-back weeks here. That Giants game, obviously, just talking about that a little bit. You saw Alt go down in that first drive of the series. And that was really the beginning of the end for it. Becton was already out. Slater, of course, injured in the beginning of the season. So you're down your three best O linemen in that game against 4 first-round picks. Brian Lawrence, Brian Lawrence, I'm combining guys now. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, and of course the newly acquired one, Abdul Carter. That front four is absolutely hellacious. It is for real. And against that O-line with your 3 best guys out and the only 2 starters remaining are the 2 starters that all Chargers fans wanted replaced in the offseason in Zion Johnson and Bradley Bozeman, that is quite concerning. And we'll obviously dive into that with this upcoming matchup against the Commanders because those injuries will definitely play a key role in this game as well. But regardless, through those O-line injuries, there were tons of issues outside of that. The penalties were a massive concern. And the charge, which is kind of crazy from a hardball team. We've seen flashes of this sometimes, like kind of last year, where just random games, the Chargers will just rack up an insane amount of penalties for whatever reason. I probably should do a little bit of research looking into the different officiating groups and things like that and see if maybe there's certain trends, maybe certain officiating groups don't like us or officiate us a certain way. I don't know, but I got to look into it because there's definitely some games I've seen where the Chargers just go haywire. And I definitely saw a lot of the calls were I wouldn't say questionable, but you could definitely go either way with it. And it just felt like for the Chargers, every 50-50 call was kind of going the opposite way. I think we finished today with like 14 accepted penalties over 100 yards. That's just unacceptable. We talked about it, the preview going into this game, going up against a rookie quarterback. You need to make his life hell. You need to make everything as difficult for him as possible. And they did none of that. We did sack him a lot. I shouldn't say we didn't do none. God, I'm getting tracked on my words here. I shouldn't say we didn't do any of that. We did pressure Dart a ton. Thule had, player of the game for sure. He had his best game probably in his career. 4 sacks, 10 tackles, a forced fumble. Fortunately, not able to recover that fumble. And man, if we recover that fumble, because that fumble happens, Giants are backed up to like their 1 yard line, and Thule, forces a fumble, and we're just unable to recover it. But man, if we get on top of that, that should be an easy 7 points there. That game is completely flipped on its head. But losing the turnover battle, besides that, 2-0. Obviously, the Herbert, the 2 picks there. One, just a great play by Dexter Lawrence, man. I mean, you got to give it to him. The guy's an absolutely amazing talent, great player. And for him to just jump up, bat it down to himself, just the concentration, everything there. He's a fantastic player. So he made a fantastic play. You got to kind of tip your cap to him in that regard. The second pick, however, man, that one was just absolutely brutal. I mean, no excuse whatsoever. I don't know what Tyler Conklin is doing. He runs into McConkey, picks off his own guy, gets a penalty for it on top of all of it. But of course, Herbert throws to just an empty patch of grass, and I don't even know who it was. I forgot who picked it off. But the DB is right there. Easy grab for him, and he runs it back essentially all the way to I think it was like the 4 or 5 yard line he got down to. So Giants, easy score for them by that point. Cam Scadaboo, although he didn't have a great game, efficiency-wise, he just had the right run at the right time. And that dude is just so much fun to watch, play football, man. I pray for him and I pray for a lengthy career, but man, with the way he looks for contact, I worry for him to say the least. But he is an insanely fun player to watch. And the Giants, at least this year, with him and Dart, I think that this will not be the last, Giant upset. I shouldn't say Giant upset because this was a massive upset. I don't think anybody expected the Giants to win this game with the way the Chargers defense was playing. Of course, starting a rookie QB with everything and everything. But yeah, I just think that it was semi-trap game, injuries that happened, just all around a full team loss. So for whatever that's worth. I think everybody in this game kind of had some blame. I think Herbert probably had the least amount of blame. He didn't play his best. There was definitely some plays, oh my god, some throws left out there. So I expect him to bounce back for sure. But I also, again, this with the state of that O line, I don't expect anybody to produce behind there. And Herbert still made some incredible superhuman throws, some incredible plays that kept the Chargers really in this game. Hampton was fantastic. Can't say enough great things about him. Him coming out and just being a threat offensively. The one thing I will say, we got to get him some more touches, man. And I'm not saying this to say that, Herbert's not that guy, because he absolutely can lead a team throwing it 40 times. But in that game where the O-line is in shambles and Hampton is finding success, the Giants' weakness, I said this going into the game, the Giants' biggest weakness is the run defense. And just for whatever reason, we kept going away from it until Hampton broke off that big one. And then by that point, we're kind of already really behind the sticks. I felt like, a couple of those interceptions could be avoided. Not to say that, making excuses for Herbert, but there's just certain times where you just don't need to constantly throw. I get it. Herbert is your best player and you want to put the ball in your best player's hands. I totally understand that. But Hampton is proven to be a viable threat. And if you're going up against a team where the biggest weakness is something that you can do very well, I would kind of want to see that, I want to see us exploit that. And then you build off that. Now you have the threat of the run there. Now there's the play action. Now Herbert can open up the long ball. Now the D line has to respect the run because there is been a big threat of it so far throughout the game. And I just felt like there was a couple of issues there with the game call, or with the game plan and the calls. But that's all to say, to wrap it up and to say that, that this was a tough loss. It was probably the worst loss, probably even worse than the Texans loss, although maybe not so because that one was in the playoffs, but just given the caliber of team we were going up against, I really felt like we could have stole this one, even with the injuries. But it is what it is. We have a chance to make it up this week as we dive right into it. Week 5 against the Commanders, as I already mentioned. Jaden is back for the Commanders after sitting out, I believe it was the last 2 weeks with that injury, the hamstring injury. And let's get into a couple of injuries. Speaking of injuries, get into a couple of injuries of our own for the Chargers. So a couple of DNPs today. Darius Davis with his knee injury. These are based off Wednesday's practices, by the way. Joe Wall, of course, we know with his ankle injury, his high ankle sprain, I should say, he's most likely not going to play this week. And there was talks that he might go on the IR. Harbaugh, like he always is in regards to injuries, very cryptic, very just bland, given the media the bare minimum. But he did say that there is potentially a chance that Alt gets placed on the IR. So we'll definitely have to look back at that, depending on and seeing, what happens there. But for what it's worth, he's not going to be out this week. Or he's not going to be there this week. So we should already kind of know this game plan for it through practice this week. Darius Davis, though, definitely need him to get back as soon as possible. We need him back in the return game. Haskins has not been it whatsoever. Don't like Tari still taking unnecessary hits by him returning kicks. So hopefully Darius can come back as soon as possible, because we definitely need our return man back. A couple of guys that were limited. Mekhi Becton, good to see him limited after obviously missing this past game. So hopefully he can come back, but there's still, a chance that he doesn't play. So if he does, it would be a huge, huge help. So hopefully we can see him back from that concussion injury. And then Derwin James was, of course, but Derwin James was limited today too with a glute injury. I don't think this is anything massive. Oh, wow, I have an alarm there. Whoops. I don't think this is anything massive. So I expect him to see him out there on the field as well. But just wanted to note it for what it was worth. We'll look back on Thursdays and Fridays practices as well. This is a home game, thankfully, as well. I think the Commanders already flying out here Thursday. and so, or have already flown out here on Thursday. But obviously, us being the home team, we get a couple of extra days for rest practice. Don't have to travel. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll see Derwin out there, but needed to note it regardless. So, taking a look at the keys to victory and what we need to do in this upcoming matchup to secure ourselves the dub. First things first, for the offense, and this is really just the O-line, we got to give Herbert something, man. This O-line has to give him at least a second and a half. I mean, is that too much to ask? I'm watching, if you watched the All 22, or if you had watched the All 22 from this past Giants game, it was despicable how easy some of these pass rushers were getting to Herbert, and on O linemen just blocking nobody. I mean, there was a play. I think it was Dexter Lawrence. I want to say it was Dexter Lawrence. I could totally be wrong, but there was a play where a Giants D lineman the ball is snapped, he rushes, and he looks to his left or right expecting a pull guard, because both the center and the guard just abandon and leave the middle wide open for Herbert to just get exposed. And it's like, that cannot be happening. With Daron Payne and some of these D linemen, some of these great D linemen that the Commanders have, that cannot happen. And if that's going to be happening this week, we're not winning at all. If Herbert is going to have free rushers in his face off snap, we're not doing anything. So we, at this point, we might as well just chalk up losses until Alt and Becton can come back, full time, fully healthy. And like I said, Becton needing to play this game is a huge, huge need after seeing that O lineman performance against the Giants. So yeah, offense, and again, more specifically O-line, if we can give Herbert anything, I fully expect us to that we can get a dub here. The Commanders' secondary is sixth worst. Well, not secondary, but the Commanders' defense is sixth worst passing yards wise in the NFL, and they really haven't gone up against that great of quarterback competition. I mean, week 1 was Russell Wilson. Week 2, Jordan Love. Okay, a little bit better. Week 3, Geno. And for what it's worth, a lot of the yards and stats he got was in garbage time against them. Michael Penix last week, who got shut out by the Panthers the week prior. So there's just a lot of unknowns, obviously, being only a month into the season. But that secondary can be had, and we definitely have the wide receiver room to take advantage of it. So I fully expect us to try to do that. It's only going to be a matter of can these O-linemen give Herbert something, just any time to throw. For the defense, simple. With Jaden back, we cannot let him use his legs to beat us. We cannot. If Jaden's going to run for over 70 yards on this team this Sunday, we're not winning this game. We have to keep Jaden Daniels contained. And the only potential positives are it's his first week back, but he's practicing in full, so I don't think he's going to be restricted that much. But this defense, Henley, spy him. I don't know why we haven't been using him as a spy more often. And we'll get to it right now as well. It really is just going to be the threat of Jaden running and their running game. Because I guess I'll skip ahead, just go down to the bottom. Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, and Sam Cosmi are all out. So 2 wide receivers and an O-lineman are all going to be out this week for the Commanders. That needs to be a point of emphasis for this secondary and for this O-line, or for this D-line, excuse me. Secondary needs to be locking down these backup wide receivers. I didn't even mention it on here as well. Debo hasn't practiced these past 2 days, so there is definitely some concern there for Commanders fans if they're trotting out, and not to say anything bad about Luke McCaffrey, but if they're trotting out Luke McCaffrey as your wide receiver 1, that is a game that the Chargers defense, essentially fully healthy minus Khalil Mack, that is a game that the Chargers defense should dominate and should win. I don't want to say handedly, because Jaden is dynamic and he is a fantastic player, but I would have a lot of confidence in the Chargers defense winning that game. And then, of course, the special teams. This is going to be a huge battle as well. obviously looking at the trenches between these two teams, but this special teams battle is going to be a huge one. If the special teams for the Commanders has been very good. They have been setting up, and this is how Mariota has been able to, how he had success against the Raiders, not so much against the Falcons, but if again, we've said this time and time again, if your Beckham can come in and go 500, the least amount of games as possible, that's the best case scenario. And going 500 in 2 games this early in the season, you're 2-2, so much ahead of you. So you will 100% take that. Although maybe you're a little upset that of the order in which that came, with the Falcons just having been dominated the week prior. But I digress. The special teams is going to be a huge, huge battle to watch out for, and being stingy with the field positioning for us against them and against Jaden. Because if they get some massive returns there and they're setting up Jaden with short yardage and short fields, it's going to be a long day for us and for this defense. And that's the way to combat this defense is to constantly set your team up with great field positioning. So that's definitely going to be a battle for us to watch. And the last last slide of the week, I'm going to be giving my kind of stat predictions for this week. And this is really what I'm hoping for and the keys to victory here. So Herbert, 22 of 32, a nice efficient game, 269 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Very game manager-esque game. I don't want him to have to do an incredible amount. I really want us to attack this run game as much as possible and take the load off Herbert as much as possible. As you can see with Amarion Hampton's stat line there. 25 touches in total, passing and just straight rushes, 112 yards in total, and 2 total touchdowns. I really think this has to be the Omarion Hampton game, and this is going to be the player we have to lean on in Alt's absence. Quentin Johnston as well. I expect another big game from him. 7 yards, 94 yards, 7 receptions, 94 yards receiving. Excuse me. Quentin Johnston has been an absolute revelation, man. We can't talk about enough about issuing apologies to him and for how we were all just out on him, ready to cut him, and he has proven all of us wrong. All of us that doubted him certainly proven all of us wrong. So we appreciate it, Johnston. Keep it up, man. And you're well on your way to having your best season by far in your career. So we absolutely love to see that. And that's going to absolutely do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out all of the other insiders here, the Hit Squad. Be sure to check out Mike Dubb and his Commanders video. There's going to be the rare week where the AFC and NFC kind of intra-league game happens. So definitely very excited about this one. And be sure to check out Mike Dubb's video on the Commanders and their keys to victory and their kind of side of things. How would you rather say it for this matchup? So very interesting. They kind of get both sides of what we think for our teams here. Also, be sure to check out Alex Gibbons, our Chiefs insider, the real AG, and then of course myself, Robert Garcia. Check my X, formerly known as Twitter, the Chargers insider. And also be sure, guys, to check us out on Lockdown Defense Sports. We are on X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and of course Gmail. So be sure to reach out to us on there, guys, and drop down in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win this matchup? I do expect the Chargers to come away with the win here. I think it'll be a very close matchup. I can't even give a score prediction. I do think the Chargers can come away with the victory here, and this will be a nice bounce back for the Bolts. But yeah, this is going to be a tough game to say the least. But I'm very excited for it. So drop your comments down below, guys. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys in the next one.